Due to staff shortages, security lines are longer, impacting travelers across the country. I've never supported a government shutdown of any kind, partial or full. The current Department of Homeland Security shutdown has been in effect since February 14th, making it the longest partial shutdown in history, followed previously by the longest full shutdown in U.S. history, both caused by Democrats. Without immediate funding to DHS, these challenges will continue to escalate, further straining our workforce and jeopardizing our national security. Madam Speaker, I urge my colleagues to put hardworking Americans first by supporting my Pay Our Homeland Defenders Act, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentlewoman from Connecticut is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New York, the distinguished Democratic leader, Mr. Jeffries.
The gentleman from New York is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also thank my distinguished colleague, the top Democrat on the House Appropriations Committee, the Honorable Rosa DeLauro, for yielding and for her tremendous leadership. Madam Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to this Republican budget that prioritizes ICE brutality over the American people. We're now more than 40 days into a Trump Republican shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Why are we here? Republicans are trying to convince the American people that Democrats should be blamed. Wait a second. Last time I checked, Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And you spent the last 15 months trying to lecture the American people that you have some historic mandate. If, in fact, that is the case, when the government shuts down in its entirety or partially, it's because Republicans have decided to shut the government down. And in this particular instance, to prioritize ICE brutality over the American people. There's legislation that is available for Republicans to bring to the floor that would pass overwhelmingly to fund the entirety of the Department of Homeland Security, with the exception of ICE and the Trump extreme mass deportation machine, which has unleashed incredible, unspeakable brutality on the American people and on law-abiding immigrant families. Why have Republicans chosen to prioritize ICE brutality over the American people? When it's not that complicated, we should be paying TSA agents. Instead, Donald Trump and Republicans have sent ICE agents to airports all across the country. Watch this. ICE agents who are sitting around, standing up, doing nothing to address the airport crisis right now. ICE agents, however, at these very airports, doing nothing, are being paid. At the same period of time, TSA agents who are doing the work have been forced by Republicans to work without pay for more than 40 days. Why? Because Republicans have decided that they don't want to get ICE under control, and instead are forcing TSA agents to work without pay, inconveniencing millions of Americans all across the country and causing chaos at airports throughout the land. Unacceptable. Enough is enough. Republicans can simply bring a bill to the floor to reopen every other aspect of the Department of Homeland Security, pay ICE agents, support FEMA, stand up for the Coast Guard, and make sure that this country can continue to function. But instead, as we've repeatedly seen, Republicans have decided they'd rather jam your right-wing extreme ideology down the throats of the American people. We haven't been complicated in the point that we've made to our Republican colleagues about what needs to happen when it comes to ICE. We're standing on the side of the American people. Yes, we will always support securing the border, today, tomorrow, forever. But at the same period of time, immigration enforcement in this country should be fair, just, and humane. If you have something to say to me, you can say it right now. That's what I thought. Immigration enforcement in this country should be fair, it should be just, and it should be humane. But instead, you're unleashing brutality on the American people, using taxpayer dollars in some instances to kill American citizens, like Renee Nicole Good and Alex Preddy. A nurse who was dedicating his life to be there for veterans who served this country. And we believe it. In America, taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not brutalize or kill them. To make life more affordable for the American people. And here's the thing. What we've put on the table, yes, we believe dramatic changes to ICE should be bold and transformational and meaningful. But they're also common sense changes, vastly supported by the American people. That includes ensuring that judicial warrants are required before masked ICE agents can storm the homes of the American people and rip them out of bed in the middle of the night. There should be independent investigations by state and local authorities so that ICE agents who violently break the law can be held accountable, just like every other American. We believe that ICE agents should be compelled to conduct themselves like every other cop, police officer, or law enforcement agency. That's not what's happening right now. We need an end to roving patrols that are violently targeting law-abiding immigrant families and brutalizing the American people. The masks need to come off. Body cameras need to come on. And yes, we also need to protect sensitive locations, like houses of worship, hospitals, schools, and polling sites. These are common sense reforms that at the same period of time are bold, meaningful, and transformational. They're designed to accomplish one chief objective: make sure that ICE conducts itself like every other law enforcement agency in the country, like every other cop, every other police officer, and every other state trooper. But that's not what's happening in this country right now. This Republican budget that is before us prioritizes ICE brutality over the American people. And that's why House Democrats are strongly opposed to it. And what's interesting, to make matters worse, because this is all about priorities and choices, and the choices that Republicans have made, the priorities that Republicans are emphasizing, are all hurting the American people, using taxpayer dollars to brutalize them, and at the same period of time, spending billions of dollars in a reckless war of choice in the Middle East, dropping bombs in the Middle East, but won't spend a dime to make life more affordable for everyday Americans. What kind of choice is that? That's where your priorities are, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. It's extraordinary to me. We think taxpayer dollars should be used to make life better for the American people. And there are a variety of ways to do it. We should be focused on that, because America is too expensive right now. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Costs aren't going down, they've gone up. Housing costs out of control. Health insurance premiums out of control. Grocery bills out of control. Child care costs out of control. Utility bills out of control. America is too expensive. And it's getting more expensive because of failed Republican policies. Donald Trump promised to lower costs on day one. Costs aren't going down. Madam Speaker, in the United States of America, costs are going up. as a direct result of failed Republican policies. The Trump tariffs have increased costs on everyday Americans by thousands of dollars per year. Republicans have refused to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. And as a result, more than 20 million Americans are experiencing dramatically increased health insurance premiums, making it unaffordable for everyday Americans, working class Americans, and middle class Americans to go see a doctor when they need one. That's policy violence that Republicans are inflicting on the American people. Republicans have launched a reckless war of choice in the Middle East, dropping bombs, spending billions of dollars. But you can't find a dime to make life more affordable for the American people. What kind of choice is that? And you continue to lean in to your one big ugly bill, which Democrats will continue to expose. Policy violence being inflicted on the American people. In that one big ugly bill, you ripped health care away from more than 14 million Americans. That's what Republicans have done. $1 trillion cut, largest cut to Medicaid in American history. You're choosing ICE brutality over the health care of the American people. At the same period of time, in that one big ugly bill, which every single Democrat in the House and the Senate opposed on behalf of the American people. In that one big ugly bill, Republicans cut nutritional assistance by $186 billion, largest cut to SNAP in American history. Republicans literally ripped food from the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans, and then turned around in that same bill and gave the Department of Homeland Security, watch this, $191 billion, including creating a $75 billion slush fund for ICE to unleash brutality and violence on the American people, to kill, in at least 3 instances, American citizens, and to violently target law-abiding immigrant families. Policy violence that Republicans are inflicting on the American people. And then you present this budget in front of us today that again prioritizes ICE brutality over standing up and making life more affordable for the American people. These are challenging times that we're living through here in the United States of America. Republicans unleashing extremism and policy violence each and every day of this presidency. Challenging times in the United States of America, but help is on the way. And we're seeing that in elections all across the country, including most recently in the district where Mar-a-Lago sits. Help is on the way. And so our promise to the American people, we're going to fight as hard as we can. We're going to show up and stand up and speak up for the American people. We will lower the high cost of living. We will fix our broken healthcare system. We will clean up corruption. We will get ICE under control. We will stop this reckless war of choice in the Middle East. We will end this national nightmare. And one day soon, we will continue America's long, necessary, and majestic march toward a more perfect union. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to my good friend, distinguished gentleman from Alabama and Vice Chair of the Commerce, Justice, and Science Subcommittee of the Committee on Appropriations, Mr. Strong.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Did I just hear the member say fair, just, and humane? And the Democrats allowed 15 million illegal aliens to enter into this country under the last administration. And now they don't want to fund Homeland Security. Connect the dots. They're begging for chaos. As a member of both the Appropriations Committee and the Homeland Security Committee, I rise today in strong support of Pay Our Homeland Defenders Act to ensure that our frontline personnel are paid and our nation is secure. While I stand here, the men and women who protect our borders, secure our airports, patrol our coastline, and respond to disasters are being asked to do their jobs without certainty and also stability. And in many cases, they're being asked to do it without pay, all because Democrats want to block the deportation of violent criminals who are here illegally. This is unacceptable. Our nation faces growing and rapidly evolving threats. We're confronting increasingly aggressive adversaries that have built a global network of proxies, terrorist organizations, illicit financing operations designed to target the United States and our allies. On top of that, transnational criminals, groups, and emerging technologies are being exploited by bad actors to conduct surveillance, smuggle contraband, and enable criminal activity. These are not distant threats, they're real threats. And they demand a fully functional Department of Homeland Security to confront these threats. America will soon host the World Cup, the Olympic Games, and our nation's 250th anniversary, events that will bring millions of visitors and place unprecedented demands on our security infrastructure. But right now, airports across the country are seeing a surge in TSA call-outs. And just yesterday, during a Homeland Security
Gentleman's time has expired.
Hearing, the
Give
TSA
the gentleman an additional 30 seconds.
acting administrator warned that newly hired screeners will not be trained in time for the 2026 World Cup because of staffing shortages. This shows alarms every single of us because it means we knowingly are walking toward a major international event without the staffing necessary to secure it. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. The gentlelady from Connecticut is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Neguse.
Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, let me say thank you to the ranking member for her incredible leadership during such tumultuous times. I had not intended to speak, but I was watching this debate unfold from my office in Rayburn and could not resist the temptation to come down to the floor to call out the clear intellectual dishonesty that we have heard for the better part of the last hour from my Republican colleagues. Spare us these crocodile tears. Let me read you 2 headlines, Mr. Speaker. Ted Cruz proposes splitting ICE from Homeland Security funding bill to end airport chaos. Another headline, Republican senator says Trump killed bipartisan deal to pay TSA workers by the end of the week. You have multiple Republican senators saying, of course, what we all know to be true, which is that Republicans refuse to come to the table and pass a bill that is sitting at the clerk's desk that the ranking member has introduced to pay TSA workers, to pay folks at FEMA, to ensure the public servants working on cybersecurity at the Coast Guard are fully compensated. We could do that today. Republicans refuse to do so. That's not me talking. That's Ted Cruz talking. That's Senator John Kennedy talking. Every day, another Republican concedes to the reality that has befallen all of us. I would implore my colleagues that if they truly care about ending this crisis at our airports, pass our bill to fund TSA. Do that today. I yield back, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman yields. Gentlelady reserves. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to my very good friend, distinguished gentleman from Missouri and Vice Chair of the Military Construction and Veterans Affairs Subcommittee of Appropriations, Mr. Alford.
Thank you for this time, Mr. Chair. Mr. Speaker, I feel like I need to start with an apology to the minority leader. I wrongly laughed out loud when I heard him say in the well of the floor of the House of Representatives, quote, "Yes, we will always support securing the border today, tomorrow, and forever." An uncontrollable laugh. This is what started all this. An administration that did not care about securing our border, and the Democrats who backed him up, along with Alejandro Mayorkas, who let 15 million illegal aliens into our great nation to cause chaos, not to be a part of the fabric of America, but to tear apart the fabric of America. This is the stupidest shutdown in U.S. history, Mr. Speaker. Why do I say that? I want to quote the ranking member from a press release, January 20th, my good friend Rosa DeLauro, quote, "The Homeland Security funding bill is more than just ICE. If we allow a lapse in the funding, TSA agents will be forced to work without pay. FEMA assistance could be delayed, and the U.S. Coast Guard will be adversely affected. All while ICE continues functioning without any change in the operations due to $75 billion it received in the One Big Beautiful Bill," end quote. That prediction came true. And now we have chaos in America, chaos that the Democrats want and promote. Airports are backed up. TSA agents are working without pay. Some are sleeping in their cars and going on the weekends to food banks in their communities to get food to feed their families. Democrats are playing political games. Instead of protecting American families, every day that they keep the DHS unfunded is another day that the ranking member's prediction comes true in America. This must end today. Today, for the third time, House Republicans will vote to fully fund the Department of Homeland Security. Let's get back on track. Let's pay the people who protect you, who protect me, who protect the ranking member, and who protect the minority leader of the U.S. House of Representatives. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentlelady from Connecticut is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Maryland, the distinguished ranking member of the Financial Services and General Government Subcommittee, Mr. Hoyer.
The gentleman is recognized.
The good news, Mr. Speaker, is that we are paying the people who protect us, and this side will not admit it. DHS is getting 80%, 86%, ICE 86% funded. CBP, 85% funded. Don't tell the American people, Mr. Speaker, that they're not getting paid. They are getting paid, and you know it. And if you say otherwise, you are misrepresenting the facts to the American people. Now, somebody said our bill. It's not our bill. It's your bill. Most of you voted for this bill and every nickel that we are asking you to vote again on. Because this was a compromise bill. All the funding that is in Ms. DeLauro's bill was a bipartisan agreement. All of it. That's not a political game. That's saying, we'll take it. What you're saying is unless you take everything, we're not going to give you anything. That's what you're saying. Mr. Speaker, that is not how we legislate in this House. We have to compromise. Now, we have some problems because you tell us if you don't allow ICE agents to break into homes without a warrant, we will not fund TSA. We will not fund the Coast Guard. We will not fund CIRCA, cybersecurity. That's what you're saying. But you're trying to pretend to the American people that it's somehow us who are ready to vote for 98% of the bill. But you say no, either all or nothing. So think about it honestly. You're shutting down TSA. The American people doesn't care who's at fault, so we're both trying to say the other guy's at fault. But today, we could come together, all at least 400 of us, and open TSA tonight. But you won't do it because you want to have masked people arresting people on the streets of America without any accountability. That's what this is about. We want accountability. We want to honor the Constitution. We want to honor the laws of the United States. We want to honor the norms of police activity in this country. That's what makes us different. We talk about an exceptional nation. That's why we're exceptional. And that's why we want to make sure those protections for the American people are included in this bill.
Members are reminded to direct their remarks to the chair.
I
The
yield
gentleman from Oklahoma.
Hello.
Well,
I yield
too
the
bad.
gentleman an additional 30 seconds.
Gentleman is recognized.
I thank the Speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest with one another. This is a tactical argument. You're afraid that if you separate out those two instances of the Border Patrol and ICE, you're afraid that you may have to honor what the American people want, and that is constraints. That's what you're against, constraints on illegal actions by police officers. The American people are hoping that you will support constraints and support a bill, our bill. Republican and Democrats put that bill together that Ms. DeLauro has introduced.
Gentleman's
Open up
time
the
is-
government and open it up today.
Gentleman's time
Let's
has
act.
expired. The gentlelady from Connecticut reserves. The gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to distinguished gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Baird.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. And Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of the extraordinary men, women of the Department of Homeland Security. At a time of complex and evolving threats, our commitment to the Homeland Security must be unwavering. Despite this reality, some of my colleagues continue to block funding. This does not make us safer. Thousands of employees at FEMA, TSA, CISA are working without pay. People who have need and they save lives, prevent attacks, support communities in crisis, and safeguard the systems that keep our country running. These personnel serving in high-risk roles face an unacceptable stress of doing their jobs without the resources they need. Supporting Homeland Security is not about ideology. It's about protecting the American people and ensuring our nation is nearly and evenly taken care of during these threat periods. I urge my colleagues, let us rise above partisanship and prove that security of the United States will always come first. I urge my colleagues to support this bill, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Gentleman from Oklahoma reserves. Gentlelady from Connecticut is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentlelady reserves.
I would advise my friend I'm prepared to close whenever she is.
Gentlelady is recognized.
Let's be clear. ICE and CBP are being paid. TSA is not. That is what President Trump and the Republicans have decided. It's really, I'm delighted to hear about this newfound concern that my Republican colleagues have about and about wanting to fund these agencies. But I think it's very clear, where were they when the administration proposed eliminating FEMA entirely? Where were they when the president proposed cutting cybersecurity by $500 million? Where were they when the president unilaterally eliminated collective bargaining rights for TSA workers? They were silent, not one word. So spare me. Spare all of us and spare the American people this these crocodile tears which you shed about people that you cut 1,000 people. You allowed Elon Musk to cut 1,000 people from cybersecurity, and you sat around saying nothing. So again, spare us all. Now, let me just say this to you, that the chair of the Homeland Security Subcommittee said a little while ago that what the Democrats were offering were radical and unachievable reforms. Let's take a look at radical and unachievable reforms. Arrest warrant requirements, prohibit the detention and detainment of U.S. citizens, Fourth Amendment protections, search and seizure protections, officer ID requirements, no mask but badges like other law enforcement agencies, prohibit immigration enforcement at sensitive locations, schools, churches, medical facilities, end racial profiling, restrictions on the use of force to prevent future deadly incidents like those we saw in Minnesota, prohibiting the department from withholding evidence for use of force-related investigations, protecting member access to all ICE facilities, including new facilities that they are buying with $45 billion that they received in the big, beautiful bill. And yes, mandatory body-worn cameras. These policies have to be built into law. That was what needs to happen here. I have offered, and I did this a month ago, more than a month ago now. I said, plainly speaking, because there are serious disagreements about ICE and about CBP, serious disagreements. 70% of the United States, the people in this country, believe that these agencies need to be brought under control and that we need protections. So let's hammer that out. Let's hammer it out on its own. Why do we want to hold hostage men and women who are doing their job every single day? They're not asking for more. They're asking to pay them for the work and the service they give to all of us. Why are we holding them hostage? And deliberately doing so with TS agencies. Because as I said, ICE and CBP, they are being paid. CBP has $65 billion. ICE has $75 billion. Our people are hurting. They need to get help. The president said $500 million cuts to cybersecurity. That's what he said in his budget. No one blinked an eye. Cutting 1,000 workers from cybersecurity. Now we have this newfound worry about cybersecurity. Again, spare us. There is a very simple solution to this. Let us take the agencies on which we have mutual agreement. It is a reasonable middle ground between two sides of this discussion. We don't want to provide more funding for ICE or CBP without the binding policy changes that protect our communities. Republicans are opposed to many of these changes and want to fund ICE and CBP without any new protections. Neither side disagrees over funding TSA, FEMA, Coast Guards, or other parts. What we are caught up on is whether or not we can deal with ICE and CBP separately, or if we have to fund everything all at once. I personally do not believe it must be all or nothing. That is not the spirit of compromise that allows us to move forward and to create policy changes and initiatives in this nation. My proposal funds the parts of DHS that we all agree on. It funds TSA so they can get paid, pay their bills, stop sleeping in their cars, and avoid evictions. We can put the end of the long lines at airport security. It funds FEMA so we can replenish the disaster relief fund. It ensures that our communities are prepared for the next natural disaster. It fully funds cybersecurity so we are equipped to prevent or respond to any threat that comes our way. It separates ICE and CBP for the time being, not forever, for the time being, so we can negotiate on that issue without holding the rest of the department hostage. As I said earlier, I listened to the debates. I believe some of my Republican colleagues are under the impression that the proposal is designed to permanently shutter ICE and CBP. It's not true. We have to pass bills to fund those agencies. We will do so when we can come together on an agreement that establishes those protections against abuse, which the majority of Americans support. There is no reason for us to keep the rest of the department shut down. It is an easy solution if we choose to take it. This is about political will and a choice. And quite frankly, we do not need a discharge petition. The Speaker of the House could call up this bill at any moment, place it on the floor, and it would pass overwhelmingly. But there is a discharge petition. If we have to have it to try to get it to the floor, it would be my hope that several of my Republican colleagues would find that this is a reasonable solution, a way to accommodate both sides of the argument. Let's come to a compromise on what we can do with ICE and CBP, but let us fund the agencies that so deserve to get paid for the job that they are doing for the American people. It should be up to us to do our job for the American people. And today, that is to bring up this compromise and allow us to fund these agencies and to continue to negotiate about ICE and CBP. That is the responsible thing for all of us to do today. It can be done. And I would just say one last thing. What we are doing here today is what I said at the outside. This is not 3 times it's a charm. This bill has nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. And it is an argument that has failed in the past. It will fail again. Let's fund the agencies that deserve our support. Let's make sure we get the kinds of protections for the American people in ICE and CBP. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself the balance of my time. I want to begin by thanking my friend for a spirited debate. We've certainly had one today. But to me, the facts of this situation seem pretty clear. The House has done its job twice already. It's fully funded the Department of Homeland Security. And if we're fortunate, we'll fully fund it again in a few minutes with, I hope, a bipartisan vote. But we'll see about that. And frankly, we've sent that legislation over to the Senate. And to be fair, a majority of the United States Senate has multiple times voted to keep the government open. A majority, a bipartisan majority of the United States Senate has voted to keep the government open. Now, the Senate operates differently from us, Mr. Speaker, as most Americans know. They have a rule. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in the law. It's just simply a Senate rule. It says they have to reach 60. So what we have is a situation where a minority of Senate Democrats have repeatedly voted to shut down the government. That's even though we sent them a bill that they agreed to vote for before we sent it over there in the first place. Then they changed their mind, they broke their word, and they've done that repeatedly in the Senate, not in the House, in the Senate. So we now have a situation where a majority of both chambers have repeatedly said we would like to open the government. I know my friends would like to open parts of the government, I heard that argument, and I didn't agree with it back when we were in the majority during the Obamacare debates. We brought measure after measure on the floor to open part of the government. Surely we can vote for defense. Surely we can vote for this or that. Our Democratic friends said, no, you should fund all the government. I actually agree with that. And we compromised there. And there seems to be on this floor a belief that the president has not been willing to compromise. That is not the case. The president, Mr. Speaker, has changed leadership at the Department of Homeland Security. The president, in negotiation with the Democrats in the Senate, has repeatedly made concessions. Frankly, it's the Democrats in the Senate that keep moving the goalposts. They just like the fight. They don't care who's not getting a paycheck. They don't care who's not meeting a mortgage payment. They don't care who's not meeting a car payment. They don't care who's not sleeping in a car. They just want to score a political point. And they want to score it even though the majority of both chambers have passed legislation to keep the government open, and even though the President of the United States has made considerable concessions in their direction. That's stupidity. That's irresponsibility. It's reckless and it's dangerous. And to do it at a time when the country is engaged in military operations overseas with an adversary that's the largest sponsor of state terrorism and that would do anything it could to hurt Americans is the height of irresponsibility. So, Mr. Speaker, I just simply hope that in this chamber today we do what we've done twice more and we give the Senate another opportunity. I know there's negotiations going over there, but just do the right thing. Fund the government. The president has shown you that he's willing to make changes. He did that in Minnesota in terms of leadership. He's done it in terms of the department itself. That normally would be enough. And I would ask my colleagues to look within themselves and see if this is really worth it. If running this risk for 330 million Americans is really worth it. If making 100,000 people miss another paycheck is really worth it. I don't know what political gain you think you're getting out of this, or my friends think they might be getting out of this. I don't think it's worth it. So I would just ask us to do the responsible thing, to pass what was a bipartisan negotiated product yet again in the House, send it over to the Senate, point out the concessions that the president has made in good faith, trying to get the government up and operational, making changes in leadership, and say, my goodness, what more do you want? Because it doesn't matter what he does, they want something else. That tells me that we're dealing with somebody that doesn't want to be dealt with in a rational and fair manner. Because I think we have done that in this body, in the entire appropriations process. That's why most of these bills have passed this chamber, most of them with strong bipartisan support. That's why in the United States Senate we thought we had a deal, and the Democrats in the Senate changed it. That's why the president, I think, probably has tried multiple times to move in the direction of his critics, and yet they still won't accept it. Again, I would just ask, let's just do the right thing. Let's fund the government of the United States, and let's get about our business, and let's make sure at a very dangerous moment in our history, our people have every protection that we can provide them. Let's not wait for something bad to happen so that we come to our senses. Let's do it today. With that, Mr. Speaker, I yield back the balance of my time, but I urge my colleagues to support this bill and, again, yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 1131, the previous question is ordered on the bill. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Third reading.
A bill making appropriations for the Department of Homeland Security for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026, and for other purposes.
For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Connecticut seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
The clerk will report the motion.
Mr. Laurel of Connecticut moves to recommit the bill H.R. 8029 to the Committee on Appropriations.
Pursuant to Clause 2B of Rule 19, the previous question is ordered on the motion to recommit. The question is on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The noes have it. The
Mr.
motion
Speaker,
is not agreed to.
Mr. Speaker, I ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed. Start with this one. Okay. Proceedings will resume on questions previously postponed. Votes will be taken in the following order: adoption of House Resolution 1128, the motion to recommit on H.R. 8029, and passage of H.R. 8029. The first electronic vote will be conducted as a 15-minute vote pursuant to Clause 9 of Rule 20. Remaining electronic votes will be conducted as 5-minute votes. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the vote on adoption of House Resolution 1128, on which the yeas and nays are ordered. The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Resolution 1128, resolution expressing the support of the House of Representatives for the Department of Homeland Security.
The question is on adoption of the resolution. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 15-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 225, the nays are 187, present is 13. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, the unfinished business is the question on agreeing to the motion to recommit on H.R. 8029, offered by the gentlewoman from Connecticut, Ms. DeLaura, on which the yeas and nays were ordered. The clerk will redesignate the motion.
Motion to recommit H.R. 8029, offered by Ms. DeLauro of Connecticut.
The question is on agreeing to the motion to recommit. Members will record their votes by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. Have all members? On this vote, the yeas are 210, the nays are 215. The motion is not adopted. The question is on the passage of the bill pursuant to Clause 10 of Rule 20. The yeas and nays are ordered. Members will record their vote by electronic device. This is a 5-minute vote. On this vote, the yeas are 218 and the nays are 206. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.